Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian Renteria, and here today, finally, after a while, I am here to talk about some movies, some new movies that are out in theaters, not in just one big old bundle like the best of, favorites, least disappointments, anything like that. No, I'm here to talk about some new movies that came out recently, like last weekend recently. I'm going to be talking about Captain America Brave New World, and I'm going to be talking about the new Apple Plus TV new movie, The Gorge. We're going to talk about The Gorge second because I have fewer things to say about The Gorge, but we're going to talk about Captain America Brave New World first because that is the one that everyone's talking about. And who knew that of just recently, with everything going on, that Captain America Brave New World would be so divisive online, because this you either fall on one end or you fall on the other. There kind of is no in between. Like, I think everyone who even has the idea, like, yeah, hey, this movie's not perfect, it's not great, but it's fun, which is where I fall in. We can see the problems, but then you have the other crowd, the crowd that is calling this unwatchable, the crowd that's calling this the worst Marvel Cinematic Universe movie that there ever has been. People saying that this is the worst comic book movie they've ever seen. We must have saw different movies, because there is a very, very big jump from that to the other side of the spectrum where a lot of people fall. So let's talk about the newest movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been released. It is the fourth Captain America movie, Captain America Brave New World. It is the first movie where Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson is taking over the mantle of Captain America himself. And before we actually talk about the movie, I want to go a little bit more into, what's been going on. Because there are people saying, like I mentioned, this movie isn't good. It's not good at all. Some of that could come from everything that we've known about this movie before it's even come out. Right? This movie got delayed because of rewrites and reshoots and additional filming that had to be done, early test screenings saying this movie was a problem. And then, of course, there was some, obviously we live in a different political climate that we do now. And there's some stuff that, resonates with that amongst a certain cast member and the character that she plays. We're not going to be talking about that because she doesn't really have that big of a role in the movie. And it's one of those things where I have seen people saying you could have written her out and the movie would have been fine. I think even from the trailers, it looks like she had another scene set up that we don't see in the final movie itself. But, there is that. But this also could come from people just not liking Marvel movies recently. And even superhero movies in general, which is fine. It's fair. It is a fair assessment. I'm not going to be one of those people that's like, oh, you don't like superhero movies? Well, then forget you. No, I'm not going to be that person. I'm never going to be that person. If you don't like a certain movie for whatever reason, that's okay. That is, you are allowed to have that. I don't get the whole, attacking someone because they don't like a movie or because they don't like a genre of movies. It's always been a dumb thing that I see online. Some people could call it tribalism as well. I just don't like it. But if you don't like these kind of movies, these superhero movies, Marvel movies to be more exact, because they aren't for you, like I mentioned, that's fine. I don't take it personally. No one should take it personally. But I am going to be vocal when I see people say that they don't like them or it's not for them. And then they just continue to bash the people that do like these movies. You don't have to attack someone. It is not that serious. It is a movie. It is a film franchise. It's not that serious. Don't join the bandwagon of hate because it's cool, or you think it will get you more likes and engagements because you want to be accepted into a certain group on film Twitter or, whatever film community there is out there, movie threads, Blue Sky, whatever it is. It's a low-hanging fruit. That's how I see it. When you attack and want to join in on the bandwagon and everyone else is saying it's bad. If you believe that, that's fine. That is totally, completely fair if you believe that. If you don't believe that, and you've never very been vocal about all these other movies and you're just joining in on the fun to bash a certain movie, you got to get over it. It really is low hanging fruit. Have all the recent Marvel movies been good? That is obviously the question, and that is obviously the thing that a lot of people have been saying. They have not all been good. No, not all the Marvel movies recently have been good. But some of you are comparing all the recent Marvel movies that have come out recently, with this one included, to Infinity War and Endgame. Those two movies were a build-up of 10 years and an ending to those phases and eras of movies. So to compare those movies, to compare the recent movies to an Infinity War or Endgame is really unfair, because yes, even though these movies are a continuation of all these, Marvel movies, especially Infinity War and Endgame, we're dealing with the effects afterwards of those events. So it really, these new movies that are coming out are somewhat of a reset. Have they all been good? No, they haven't. Have they all been bad? No, not necessarily. There have been some very good ones. But when it comes to Brave New World, like I mentioned, some of you made it seem like this movie was unwatchable, which is not the case. And I say that knowing that us hardcore fans, us fans who pay attention to the newswire, like I mentioned previously already, knowing about the reshoots and additional filming and test screenings and script changes and characters being cut, we can see that on screen. I think if we knew that, I think that was always going to be one of the issues of watching this movie for us fans, was knowing all that and going in. And I've said this constantly on this podcast. When I go watch a movie, especially if it's a movie that I'm really hyped up for, or it's a movie I'm looking forward to, and there's hype online before it, people are saying all these good things, I try to leave that at the door, because I want to take the movie in as is. I don't want to take any preconceived notions that I have about a movie and, judge the movie based off what I thought I wanted in the movie, and then I don't get it, and then I end up being disappointed, even though I was never promised that I was going to get that thing. And I think that's still a thing that people really struggle with, especially when it comes to comic book movies. But I get it, because we're fans. We want these movies to be good. We love these characters. Some of us grew up with these characters. Some of us have grown fond of these characters because we've been watching the movies, and, people have started doing research and going on and not watching, but hearing, or not even, well, I guess hearing. I guess there are audiobooks, but reading these comic books with these characters in them, and they've grown to love them. Nerd culture is not what it was. It's not what it is. I said it wrong. It's not what it was back then. Back then you wouldn't see a bunch of people wearing Captain America and Superman shirts, and if you did, you would probably say something about them. Now everyone's wearing nerdy shirts. Everyone has some sort of introduction, some sort of entryway, some sort of fandom in the nerdy culture now, because it's an acceptable thing. But now, because it is everywhere, there are people that want to cling on to certain things and cling on to these characters and these franchises, and it just makes for a very not great all the time conversation to have online, and seeing people being like, well, this is how the character was written and all this, and you just, again, stop attacking people because of anything. That was a very poorly put way of saying what I wanted to say, but I went off a little bit of my script here. Not my script, but my bullet points. Anyway, so when it comes to Captain America Brave New World, I just want to just move on from past all that. My non-spoiler thoughts, because I will be getting into spoilers. Those are all timed out down below in the description / show notes area. So my non-spoiler thoughts are, don't listen too much to the noise, because again, there are people that are going to be out there that just want to bash this movie for no reason other than it's a Marvel movie. Don't listen to the noise. You want to listen to a little bit of the noise, that's fine. You want to, but don't go in, saying that you want to hate this movie, because then you're not going to like anything. Don't go in fully expecting, this awesome, great movie to be back on its feet and, on the level of Infinity War and Endgame, because they're not going to be. As much as I do love these movies, and I love some of these movies, I like some of these movies, I enjoy some of these movies, I just know that anything recently is not going to be on the level of Endgame and Infinity War. And that is not, a bad thing on these movies. It's the truth. And I think a real fan would understand that. If someone who knows that is the case would understand that these movies are not going to be Infinity War. They're not going to be Endgame. They're going to be trying to do their own thing. And if you keep comparing it to that, you're going to be disappointed every single time. Does this movie have its problems, though? Yes. Is it fun? Yes. Anthony Mackie proves he is worthy of taking the mantle. Coral Lumbly is reliable as ever, although his character does get sidelined for a little bit. I wish they had him more in the movie. Ramirez, I think Danny Ramirez as the new Falcon is pretty good. It's pretty cool. It's pretty nice. He's a pretty nice addition to the team here. And Harrison Ford as the new Thunderbolt Ross, taking over the role of William Hurt, is also very, very good here. The action's pretty decent. Some scenes will stand out more than others. I think it's a fun movie. It's a fine movie. It's a even good movie. Would I call it a bad movie? Would I call it unwatchable? No. Do you see its problems? Yes, you will. But I don't agree with the statement saying this movie is unwatchable, or this movie is bad, or this movie is the worst superhero movie out there. It is not. If you are saying that, I don't know just how you have watched other superhero movies and think that this is the worst one. Like, honestly, I think if you saying that, if you feel that, if you really believe that, then okay. But I just have questions for you about other superhero movies. All right, let's move on. Spoiler talk. We're going to talk about spoiler talk. The big one, I mean, this could also be not spoiler, but I think the big one, the reveal of it, and how we get there, Red Hulk, which was plastered everywhere in the promotion of the movie, to the trailers. Here's the spoiler part of it. It is a final act reveal. It's this thing that is supposed to feel like this huge reveal, and probably would have been if, again, it wasn't, spoiled everywhere in the trailers and commercials and TV spots. So we knew it was coming. But the movie treats it as like we didn't know. And I wouldn't say that is necessarily a bad thing, but it was more about the journey of how we got there at the end for me to realize, oh, now this is why we're getting Red Hulk. This is the reason why we're getting Red Hulk. But again, I think maybe if they had kept it a secret a little bit, it would have been nice. But or maybe just like even teased it in the trailers so we can be like, oh, are we going to get Red Hulk? Are we going to get Red Hulk? Not immediately knowing like, oh, we got Red Hulk. But we knew that already because of the trailers and TV spots. And a connection to the Red Hulk, because despite this being the fourth Captain America movie, this is also a little semi-sequel to Eternals, because we finally see what they have been, they are doing with Tiamat, aka or Celestial Island, as they call it in the movie, because the nations have been fighting for it. Behind all the other movies, during the other movies, there's a treaty being made, and turns out that the Celestials are made out of adamantium, and everybody wants it, which is great. This is a cool way to introduce adamantium into the world. Obviously, adamantium will bring in, all this other stuff, like Wolverine, obviously, more importantly, or, I don't say more importantly, but, it's going to bring Wolverine into the world, into this world. But like a new Wolverine, or are we going to get, different universe Wolverine? That's the whole other thing that, I'm sure they'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And they'll figure out a way to do that. But, adamantium in the movie is listed and being, kind of hyped up more by Ross, really, as stronger than vibranium. And I'm sure that will, bring in the conversation of what is actually stronger. Is it adamantium? Is it vibranium? The problem is with adamantium and the mention of it, it's just kind of that. It's just a mention. We don't see it. It's this new raw mineral that, Ross is, gloating around being like, hey, we found it. But we don't see any of it kind of really being used. There's this brief fight at the beginning of the movie with Captain America and Sam, Captain America. I mean, Sam is Captain America. Whether you like it or not, Sam is Captain America. But there's this brief fight with him and one of the, kind of big hulking guys. Not hulking is probably the wrong word to use, but one of these big guys that belongs to the villain group. And he's using like a knife, and I'm pretty sure. I'm not pretty sure. I know that we're told that the suit that Sam wears is vibranium. The wings that he has is made out of vibranium. He has the vibranium nanotechnology to put his helmet on. But the suit gets ripped in the middle. Like the guy has like these knives, and he's able to rip the suit, and you see this like kind of thing on this expression on Sam's face, like. You could probably make in that moment make it assume like, oh, he cut my suit. He cut the star, the emblem, the star emblem of Captain America. Like, oh, like why did he do that? But if they had made that knife out of adamantium, and we know the suit is made out of vibranium, I think that would have, if they had pushed that a little bit more, like that's why Sam had that expression, not just because he cut my suit and he cut the star on the Captain America suit. It's like no, he cut the vibranium suit. Not just the star, he cut the vibranium. So, like, how did he do that? Is the knife made out of vibranium? Is it made out of adamantium? I think that would have been like a nice little touch to bring adamantium, not just by name, but by use of the movie. Because other than that, we don't really see anything adamantium in the movie at all. So that's nice. Just a little nitpick for me. But so again, a little sequel to Eternals there. But more importantly, this is, without a shadow of a doubt, a sequel to a movie that I always feel is disrespected and it's shoved to the side, and that is The Incredible Hulk. Captain America Brave New World is not only the fourth movie in Captain America series, but it is also a sequel to The Incredible Hulk. And we get Ross, who is not the president. He has the nickname placed on him that's used as an insult at one point, Hulk Hunter, which I thought was very cool. There's also multiple name drops to his daughter Betty, who finally returns and once again played by Liv Tyler, which was nice. It was a nice little moment there. I thought that the only thing I just thought they were just going to mention her. We get a nice little phone call, although the phone call seemed very stiff. Like, I like they probably told Liv Tyler like, hey, can you just say these lines? And like they just told her like and like she probably only had time to do it late at night because it was very like weird. It was very like wooden. So I don't know like what was going on. Like they couldn't use like a different take, or maybe that was the best take. I don't know. Whatever the case was, I didn't assume that. I didn't think that they would get Liv Tyler back, and they got her back for like a second. For she was on screen, like physically on screen for like 3 seconds, which it was still nice. It was still nice to have her on there. But we also get he becomes our secondary villain once we get to Red Hulk, but he is really the main villain of the movie because he's behind the scenes. And that's Samuel Stearns, aka Mr. Blue, who is portrayed by Tim Blake Nelson. He of course was in The Incredible Hulk. He played Samuel Stearns there as well. And I thought it was really great. He doesn't look like his comic book counterpart, the leader, as he's called in the comics, for those who don't know, because he has this very like enlarged forehead, because his creation is pretty much the same. He has gamma radiation, and instead of giving him, the strength like Banner has with the Hulk, he becomes very smart. And his whole thing is he can, figure out the probability of things that are happening, things that will happen. And we see that in the movie. And he tells, Sam that and everything else like that. And I like the fact that Sam Wilson as Captain America is like the outlier of it. All of his calculations have come true. And then Sam Wilson comes in and he's like, nuh-uh, that ain't gonna happen, and it just messes up everything, which I thought was actually pretty cool. It was a nice little thing, and he becomes kind of a side plot, and then he becomes a side plot for a little bit, and then it becomes the main plot for a little bit, and that's obviously where the rewrites came in because I didn't know what, I guess, a little janky on that. I will say though, his last scene in the movie, when he's talking to Sam outside the hospital, you can definitely tell that was green screen. He was not standing where they originally shot. And I'm pretty sure the person he was talking to in that scene, who was supposed to be Sam, was not Sam. I'm sure that was a body double, because that was like everything around behind him was so blurry. And you just tell like that was a seat, like he was standing in front of a green screen. Like they just shot that at the end. Like that was one of the reshoots because there was no way that was real because holy crap, that moment. You want to talk about spotty CG? That was very spotty CG for me. That I think I was just so into the movie that when that scene happened, it was so apparently obvious because it was so light out. I was like, oh my God, that's so terrible. His design though, because I mentioned a little bit, his design as the leader. It is obviously doesn't have the enlarged forehead. I heard a theory, I forgot what podcast it was, but they were talking about a theory of why he doesn't have the elonged forehead. Samuel Stearns has been there behind the scenes. He's been a prisoner, basically. Ross has kept him a prisoner and has experimented on him to, test his theories and everything and test his abilities. So we think maybe that's why they thought that's why he didn't have the elonged head, which is why he has a little bit of an elonged head, but not really. Which kind of sucks because in The Incredible Hulk, it looked like he would get the elonged head, or at least a bulging head, but that didn't become the case here. And I liked that I don't know if I'm the only one I'm sure I'm not the only one that caught this. But I liked that he has that connection to Ross because he pretends to help Ross at the end, right? Because we find out that Ross is dying, which does have a connection to the other movies. It does have a connection to the Captain America movies, especially in Civil War, because Ross comes back in Civil War. And it felt like a throwaway line in the movie, but he mentions, right before he's, showing the attack that, the failed attack, or not the attack, but the explosion that Wanda kind of inadvertently did, while she was trying to save people, that he had a heart attack when he was golfing. So he was already sick. So the connection of him not being in perfect health is already there. And why not have a man that you have locked away who is super smart and is a doctor, in his own way, try to make you better and giving, even though you imprisoned him. And of course the irony is that, Ross, or Stearns rather, has been giving Ross, these pills that Ross thinks is trying to help him, but instead is, the little doses of gamma radiation. And that's what turns him into the Hulk, which I thought was great. I thought that was, great. I thought in hindsight, that's great kind of storytelling because you're connecting it to the other movies. And the irony of it all and, collateral damage of it all is great because Ross even says like, Stearns took the fall, he became collateral damage because I had to put Blonsky away and, Banner went on the run. So, I thought that was great. Moving on briefly, I want to talk about the aerial combat sequence, which was really exciting, especially in IMAX, because that was really cool. And that's kind of where the Celestial Island comes in. And again, I wanted more from the Celestial Island, but the fact that they finally acknowledged it is great. And now we can, have everybody, shut the hell up about it. I feel like you can't go online, especially on, Marvel, on the Marvel side of film Twitter, without someone bringing up like, why haven't they talked about this? It's been years. Why haven't they talked? Now they finally talked about it. All right. They talked about it. So be quiet. Shut up. Sorry, that was a bit much, but I love the aerial combat sequence. It really shows off what, Sam can now do as Captain America now that he has wings on him, and it shows a little bit more of Danny and his reasoning to become Falcon, and also his kind of daredevil-less and wanting to be a hero, wanting to be Sam, because we find out later once Danny wakes up that he wants to be, that when he never envisioned himself as a hero, and then he saw Sam standing next to Captain America as Falcon, and that's what he wanted to do. That's it wasn't Captain America that inspired him, it was Sam that inspired him. I thought that was really great scene between those two. And I like the aerial combat scene, that scene where, Cap is riding the missile for a little bit. It's so cheesy and it made me look a little wonky, but that is like straightly ripped off out of the comics, and I thought that was really, I don't think it's actually a scene in the comics, but it just felt like that could be a comic book panel, and I thought that was really cool. The other thing that I really liked about it was a very quote unquote small thing, but it's an important one, I think, especially for the character of Sam, is when Bucky shows up. Bucky shows up exactly when Sam needed him the most. Not in a fight, but when he thinks he's failed and he's doubting himself as Captain America, as someone who can be viewed as a leader. He knows that he can be a leader, and Bucky knows that Sam can be a leader. And it's a scene that we kind of already had a little bit, sort of, in the TV show, with Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as it was, called throughout. But I just really like that scene. I think just because I saw the show and I know their relationship, and we see a little bit of the relationship in the movies a little bit as well. But seeing that relationship grow to what it became on the show, and then finally getting to see it on the big screen, and those two sharing a scene like that, and especially in this movie, I thought it just really worked. I really love that scene. It's a movie filled with action and somewhat exciting action, but it's a small scene like that I think is really good. It could be fan servicey, I don't care, but it worked. It worked on me, and it's a great scene. It's a scene that I felt like we've already had before, and it's a scene that I don't want to keep happening. There's always going to be a scene where the hero doubts himself and someone comes in that's close to him and will tell him. It's script writing 101, right? But I just felt like I hope this was enough that we don't necessarily get that scene again. But if we do get that scene again, have it be with certain context. I think here it worked because Sam thinks he failed by not protecting Danny. Let's talk about Harrison Ford. Ford obviously has a reputation, right? I mean, we all know, and I think he probably kind of plays into it a little bit, with everything. But we all know that Ford doesn't phone it in. I don't think I've ever seen Harrison Ford performance where he's, phoned it in. And he does not do that here. He goes all in. He is trying to prove to people, as Ross, that he has changed. Because the whole movie is kind of him, like, the reputation of the Hulk Hunter, the reputation of being a former angry general. We see a little scene of him being angry and, lashing out and, yelling at people. And he's trying to show people that he is not that. Now that he has become president, he's trying to show people that he is not that he has a point to prove that he has changed, that he is not the angry general. He is not the Hulk Hunter. He's trying to prove himself that he has changed for the better. He wants to recruit Captain to bring him back so they can reform the Avengers. And he's trying to prove that he's changed to his daughter, Betty. But obviously, that doesn't happen. And then when all the stuff in the ocean happens in front of Tiamat and everything like that, and Stearns calls him and, pretty much eggs him on, it starts to reveal that, yeah, he is the Red Hulk. And we finally get Red Hulk, and, and just a great little scene of Red Hulk, of Hulk in general, just lashing out and being this indestructible, crazy, just force of mayhem. Seeing that is really cool. And the part that got to me here in this movie is that Ross takes full responsibility for his actions. He's not the president anymore at the end of the movie. He ends up on the raft, which is crazy to me, and such a choice because obviously Ross was one of the creators and one of the people that thought of the raft for keeping all these superpowered individuals in there. So I thought that was great, and there was no way that obviously this is a movie because there's no way a president will take full actions for himself, right? And no, that's totally just. Anyway, all in all, I felt like I've been rambling a little bit here. I did like Captain America: Brave New World. It's not as bad as people are saying. I don't get the hate. I really don't. If it's not for you and you don't like it, great. If I'm not going to be one of those people that's like, you didn't like this movie, you're an idiot. No, you have your reasons for not liking the movie. That's fine. But calling this film unwatchable, that is where I kind of draw the line. That is where I have to say, like, no. Like, you don't like it. That's fine. But calling it unwatchable, calling it the worst superhero movie of all time, like, seriously, you're going to sit there with a straight face and tell me this is the worst superhero of all time, that this is the worst Marvel movie at that. Maybe we can make that argument if you want, but calling it the worst superhero movie of all time, really? Come on. No. If you don't like it, that's fine. I had a lot of fun with it. Yes, I see the problems with it. Yeah, could it have been better? Yes, of course it could have been. Again, being a fan, I want these characters, I want this world to be good because I know it can be good. We've seen it be good in comic book form, even in animated form. But live action, I want it to be good as well. And we've seen it be good. And we know it can be good. Do we want to get back to that level? Yes, of course we do. We want these characters to be in good movies. We want these characters to thrive and succeed and everything else. But saying this movie is not good, it's just, that's fine. But saying it's unwatchable, no. That's where I draw the line. That's where I draw the line for you. No. So anyway, I like it. It's a perfect no. Is it fun? Yes. At the end of the day, that's what I want. I want a movie where I can have fun, and have fun with it, and in a good way. And yeah, that's what I want. So rating wise, I haven't done my ratings in a while, but I would recommend this movie. I would, and that's recommend for me rating wise. I'll talk about the rating system again in a future episode, because I don't have it in front of me. I should know it. It's my rating system, but I don't have it in front of me. But I know I recommend, for me anyway, is anything in the 3, sometimes even 4-star range, depending on the movie. So I definitely would give this movie a recommend. I really would, especially if you're a fan of the series. Just don't listen to the noise. It's a lot of the noises. People that are saying, like, some of the stuff that people that are saying is like, okay, I can see why you would think that way. But once you start getting into like, this is the worst superhero movie and all that stuff, it's like, no, dude, no. Or madam, no. Okay. So that's Captain America Brave New World. Let's move on to the other movie I'm going to talk about is The Gorge. Like I mentioned, this is the new movie on Apple TV Plus. So what if I told you I had a movie that was not just an action horror movie. It had a little bit of sci-fi in it. You can watch it, again, the comfort of your own home on Apple TV+. It stars Anya Taylor-Joy, Miles Teller, Sigourney Weaver's in there for a little bit. It's produced by C. Robert Cargill and Scott Derrickson. Derrickson himself also directed the movie. They are, of course, the team behind Doctor Strange, a little Marvel connection there, Sinister, and The Black Phone. And it just also happens to be a romance movie. And all of that stuff works pretty well in the movie itself. That is what The Gorge is. That is what it is. The basic premise of the movie, I'm trying to explain as much as best as I could. It is the East and the West. The government. They have secretly been working together to keep a mysterious gorge unknown from civilization because there is something in the gorge itself that is very dangerous. That if it gets up to the real world, it would pretty much destroy it. So, or not the real world, but if it gets up to the rest of the world, it would destroy it. So they decide to set up watchtowers on both sides of the gorge, and they send people there to make sure that whatever is down there doesn't come up. Now, I did say this was a romance movie, right? I did say that. That's the action, sci-fi, horror aspect of it, right? Yeah, okay, right there. The romance part of this is where Teller and Joy come in, because they are, of course, the people at the watchtower, and they are not supposed to communicate with each other in any way. That's, we're told by another character that, gets introduced to us when they, send Miles Teller's character out, Levi, his name is Levi. He tells them all the rules and stuff, and they're like, yeah, you can't communicate with the person across from you. Like, not even if you could, you probably couldn't, because, it's a very large, wide distance between you and the other side. But they find a way. And, of course, who wouldn't fall for Anya Taylor-Joy in any sort of way? Her character name is Dasha. I believe she's Lithuanian. I think they say I think that's what they say she is. So they, of course, grow fond for one another, and to no surprise, they fall for each other, and at one point they end up in the gorge, and yeah, that is as far as the non-spoiler part that I will talk about. So no surprise, again, Joy is great and reliable as always. Teller, who I am not really personally a huge fan of, but I can admit that when he is given great material, he does knock it out of the park, and he does a very good job here. The romance stuff works, the action stuff works. Does the whole movie work? For the most part, it does. I feel the going back and forth between the two kind of genres, there is some, I don't want to say tonal whiplash, but there is just a little bit of like, okay, now we got to remind ourselves, okay, we're in the romance part. Oh, now we're in the action part. So that kind of gets a little it gets a little mishandled, but I would still recommend the movie if you really want to watch it. It did come out on the 14th, so it was a Valentine's Day movie. Valentine's Day does play a little bit of part in the movie. That is a part that I kind of wanted a little bit more of, but maybe some good stuff got cut out in general. But who knows? But yeah, I would still recommend The Gorge if you want to go watch it. It's a very good movie. In my opinion, it's a very good movie. Okay, spoiler talk. Let's talk about the Valentine's Day thing, like I just mentioned. So we get a little bit before the characters go into the Gorge. Obviously, we get a little bit of Levi and who he is. That's where the Sigourney Weaver character comes in. And Sigourney Weaver in the movie, not that long. I wish she was a little bit more in the movie, but she's not. She kind of plays the shady, bad guy in the movie. That whatever. But Anya Taylor-Joy character Dasha, we see her at the beginning also, being someone who is a very skilled sniper. She kills the guy that she's supposed to kill, and then she goes to see her father in the field, and we find out that he's dying. And we don't know at that point that Dasha is going to go to the Gorge, but the father doesn't know either. But they know that she's going to be away for a while. She's going to be away for at least a year, and he tells her that on Valentine's Day, on February 14th, I'm going to kill myself because I'm already dying. I want to be with your mother again. I just want it to be done with. And then, we get the months going by over with them, and we see that it's February, and we see Dasha have a picture of him, and she's crying. And I wish they kind of went a little bit more into it. I think, we get a lot of stuff from Levi's side. We don't get enough from Dasha's side. I don't know if that was just a choice really, but I felt like that part I felt could have been a little bit more, to kind of see her and see a little bit more, follow her more on that day and just knowing everything. I don't know. I just wish they had touched on that more. But the part I want to talk about here for the spoiler part is the Hollow Men. The horror part of this movie, which of course Derrickson and Cargill thrive on. The whole Gorge, really. Nightmare fuel. Just simple, straightforward nightmare fuel. Those fucking spiders. Those spiders with human skulls as their bodies. No. Just absolutely not. No. Just go ahead, take me. Just get it over with as fast as possible, because absolutely not. I sat at home. I was sitting right here where I was, obviously I was watching at home, but I was sitting right here and I was watching. I was like, absolutely not. No. So yeah, but the Hollow Men, themselves, their design is really cool. They have like kind of this tree root, kind of growing through them and their bodies. They're based, which I thought was very interesting here. And being an English major, of course, it just kind of snapped right back into me. The fact that the Hollow Men were kind of based a little bit off the T.S. Eliot story was a nice little twist. Again, this is a writer's writer, because they're like, why out of everybody you can pick, T.S. Eliot of all people? Which of course you would. But the Hollow Men look really cool. I saw some people kind of comparing them a little bit to, not necessarily in terms of how they look, but just in terms of like the concept of them. I forgot the names already. I didn't put it on my outline. But the kind of monsters in The Last of Us, where they're infected by like this insect, a parasite that only affects, them, and then it affects humans. The concept of it is kind of similar to them as well. And we see a little bit more, kind of later in the movie as well with the gel things in the silo, which I thought was also nightmare fuel and horrific in its own way. The valley that we see also that they pass, where it looks like the trees are, made of tree roots, but they're also made of like people and like skeletons that are stuck in like these horrific and painful faces. But they're, again, they're just skeletons. I thought visually the Gorge and everything in it, I don't know how I want to phrase this, because I just thought about thought about it. But the Gorge itself, it's surrounded by this like fog, it's always surrounded by fog, pretty much. So you can't really see that much in front of you, which, leads to these, sneak attacks by the Hollow Men on Miles and Levi, Levi, or Miles is Levi and Joy is Dasha when they get down there, because obviously they have their date, and Miles, Levi, whichever one comes out, when Levi is, rappelling through the gorge and snaps, and, obviously Dasha, without even thinking, just like, nope, going after my man, going after my new man, and she goes down. I thought was, and just seeing, also the centipede, the spider thing, not a spider, like a centipede, caterpillar, whatever the hell it was, that was gonna eat Levi, I assume, before he woke up and shot it. And then when he fell in whatever that was like sticking to him, and then like the teeth came out, I'm like, no, dude, like I'd be dead. Levi would be dead if Dasha didn't show up, because you're not getting out of that. But yeah, I just thought it was, I just thought the whole gorge, it looked like they didn't want to go too into it, but it gave you just enough nightmare fuel to be like, I don't want to be stuck here. Get me the hell out. I don't want to be stuck here, because that is not something I want to deal with. So yeah, that's kind of what I thought about it. I thought it was really great. I thought it looked cool, and like for some reason, like it went to different colors. Like they never explained the different colors, because it was purple on one part, it was red on another, and then it looked kind of just like a regular, like kind of smog-like area. I think it was yellow in some other section. So yeah, I don't know. I wish they explained that more. But the explanation of what the gorge is, when we get to that moment, where it's like, oh, we were trying to like, make sure or create this kind of, biological kind of weapon, of course, that goes wrong. And like, we don't want it getting out. So we're going to stick ourselves here. And we came up with the contingency to make sure that if, it doesn't get out at all. I thought that was great. I thought that was an interesting thing, but I thought it was interesting concept wise, but I also, wish there was something else, because when it got to that point and it was explaining stuff, I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of see that. But it also kind of lost like the mystery of it. It was like, it's a human made issue. It's not like a actual sci-fi issue. I mean, it's a little sci-fi, but it's not, but it was not like, the gorge was like, this doorway to hell, kind of. It was just like, oh, we sent people and something happened, and they, something happened that we couldn't explain, and it created these monsters, and we sent people in, and the Hollow Men being like the battalion that was sent in that never got out, I thought was also very interesting. I think there should have probably been more of them, but the fact that there wasn't, I think also played into that factor. But I don't know. I like the explanation a little bit. I think the idea of it was great. I think maybe execution wise, could have been a little tighter, maybe. I don't know. They were just, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I liked it. I still kind of liked it. And the fact that, Weaver's character, we don't get a name of in the movie, I believe, or if we do, I kind of missed it. But she, is in charge of making sure that nothing gets out and it's kept a secret, because I guess they don't want anybody else to know. Like, if someone actually goes in there, like, and try to get out, they probably would die. If like a normal person was like, oh, like what's down this gorge? And like, look at this gorge that I found, and I'm going to go check it out. They're going to be dead, because they're either going to die by those freaky ass spiders, or the Hollow Men are going to get them and they're going to die. Like, that's what it is. Like, there's no if, ands, or buts. Like, once people start disappearing, they're like, oh, the gorge is disappearing. It's like, what's going? I guess maybe that's what they were trying to avoid. But also, it's like, you go down there, you're dead. there's no way you're gonna, survive unless you are a skilled soldier like Dasha and like Levi were. So yeah, I don't know. I just, it's like, okay, like, maybe work on that a little bit. But also, the fact that, the people that they send there are like kind of loners. Like, we don't know what all of this kind of revolves around kind of Levi's point of view, because we don't know if, Dasha's people were going to kill her, because we see the guy that, gets, that introduces Levi to everything and tells him the rules, and that he's about to go home, and then they kill him and they shoot him. we don't know if that's what Dasha's side was going to do. Like, maybe that's what they were doing, but we're only told that through Levi. And the orders of Levi being like, hey, you got to go and kill Dasha. Did Dasha get those orders too? Like, we're never given that impression that, it's what it was. Or maybe it was like, no, we'll just let them take over. Maybe the idea is like Weaver was the one that's taking advantage of the situation. Like, she's going to kill her people because she doesn't want anybody talking. And, we're going to go take care of it ourselves. Because you do see that little ship that comes out and it kind of just, that goes nowhere. Like, it's a transmitting ship that, sends stuff out. It's like, yeah, okay, I guess. But you probably could have thought of something different there. I don't know. Again, it's like little things that make the movie not completely work, but everything else about the movie I really liked. Like, even the romance stuff I really liked. Like, I mean, yeah, who wouldn't fall for Anya Taylor-Joy? I mean, come on. Come on. She's gorgeous. Okay, no, sorry. I'm sorry. I had to do it. I've seen other people do it, so, whatever. But them falling for each other and then having like these just, of course, I think if we're put in that situation, and, it was someone, even if it wasn't someone that looked like Anya Taylor-Joy, I think you would find some sort of connection in that. We're both kind of stuck in this, scenario. And I think maybe, yeah, if you broke the protocol of not communicating with the other person, yeah, maybe you would. Because you're stuck there. You're stuck there for a year. That's the only person that you're seeing, pretty much. You're not talking to them. And there's a lot of this movie once, they get there where there's no dialogue. It is just them physically talking through no words. I know that makes no sense, but I said it. I don't care. It's body language. It's just them. And I thought it worked so well. It worked so well and they nailed it. And, it's like the romance stuff works and it's like, great. And then we get to the action stuff. And I'm like, oh, I got to snap it. I forget. I'm not watching a romantic movie. I'm watching, an action movie. And it's interesting because you get that. And then like the first attack, it comes out of nowhere, really. And then it's like 3 straight minutes of like bullets flying everywhere. And then it's like, hey, are you okay? Like, it's like, it goes right back to the romance stuff. And then it's like, oh, no. That's right. It's an action. Now we got to, get back to the action. But let's throw the horror in even more because now you're stuck in the gorge. Now you're stuck down there with everything trying to kill you. And you got to find a way back up. And you find your way back up. And then the movie ends with the romance. And I thought that was great. So it kind of flip-flops a little bit. And you're kind of, stuck in there. But I think it works. I do think it works. I think The Gorge itself, the movie, works perfectly. There, again, little nitpicky stuff. Little things here and there that I wish they could have expanded on more. I wish we could have seen a little bit more on what was going on with Dasha's side. But, well, who knows what, it's fine. It's fine. You come up with ideas for yourself. It's okay. But I really like The Gorge. I highly recommend it if you have not watched it yet. Okay, it's on Apple TV Plus. You can watch it in the comfort in your own home. It's got Anya Taylor-Joy. She's great. Miles Teller, again, pretty decent here. The action stuff works. The romance stuff works. I really enjoyed it. I would also give this a recommend as well. 2 very good movies that came out this past weekend, and you should go check them out because they're very, very good. Okay, that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. I very much appreciate it. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Check out all the links down below in the comments, not in the comments, in the description / show notes area. Go check them all out and like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Rate the podcast as well while you're at it. And have a good one, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Whoop, whoop, yeah! Give it up! Movies!